Do it.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Hey guys, guess what? I'm back talking about The Mandalorian. Now, I've had something of a polarizing response to my latest video on the matter, and truthfully, I didn't expect that at all. I thought it was pretty damn evident that episode 1 of season 2 was pretty bad. And you know what? I stand by everything I said, and then some. Now, I did give that episode a decent amount of praise. Really wish more people paid attention to that, but as I said, I felt like the episode was a step in the right direction, only for the next episode to once again go completely in the wrong direction, but we will get to that. Before we get started, I want to talk about my review of episode 1 and the reaction to it. So, it was pretty damn evident that a lot of people who had a problem with my video either didn't watch it or just didn't want to hear what I had to say, and they just wanted to hear what they wanted to, and when they didn't get it, well, it was dislike, unsubscribe, and sayonara. I want to take a moment to talk to those people specifically, and you know who you are. If you're the kind of person who scours the internet looking for something that will justify your positive take on a shitty piece of media, please look elsewhere. That's not what I'm trying to do here. If you're the kind of person who saw the thumbnail and became irate instantly and ran for the hills because you couldn't take what I had to say, then I suppose my video did its job because I don't want you watching my videos anyway, to be perfectly honest. If you're that type of person, go cry to mummy, have her hold you and tell you everything's gonna be alright, spend a few years away getting some goddamn maturity, and then come back when you have a spine. However, those people, as fate would have it, are in good company. I have a funny story to tell you all, because guess who shares the same shallow, gutless perspective? Well, that would be Mr. Robert Liefeld. And this hilarious tale is coming to you live, straight from the cesspool that is Twitter. You see, Robert Liefeld, whoever that is, was, like many Disnoys nowadays, he was assuming position and unapologetically sucking the Mandalorian's dick. And he did so very publicly for all to observe his stupidity. However, I can't share what he said exactly. I'm gonna have to paraphrase, unfortunately. Now, why that is, I'll get to in just a moment. Ooh, so excited. But he was essentially saying more Star Wars should provide the same quality The Mandalorian gives its fans. You cannot fathom my eye roll when I saw that. And then my boy Ace here chimes in and says, check out some of Anomaly Inc.'s videos on YouTube if you ever want someone's differing perspective without being too negative. I dig the show myself. It's Lone Wolf and Cub and Spaghetti Westerns meeting Star Wars. Now, our good friend Robert's response was the following, and thankfully it was short so I can quote it verbatim. He says, why would I waste my time just listening to somebody whine?
Alrighty then.
So I suppose you're all wondering what I had to say back. Well, here was my response. You mean why would you want your ass handed to you by logic and standards? By all means enjoy The Mandalorian. Just remember you deserve better as a fan and as a consumer.
You're so concerned with squabbling for the scraps from Longshank's table that you've missed your God-given right to something better.
I eagerly waited Mr. Liefeld's response because after all, the checkmarks on Twitter are the most open-minded and intelligent individuals you can find on planet Earth. After all, they are just so stunning and brave. And thus me and him would embark on an epic debate across the whole of Twitter, sending shockwaves so that, yeah, I was blocked instantly. No discussion, I just had wrong think and an intellect that challenged his own. Boom. Censored, repelled by the almighty block. But it's all good. It's not the first time I've been blocked for something so trivial by the mentally fragile, or the mentally retarded for that matter. At least Robert Liefeld doesn't pride himself on being Captain Nuance like some people tend to do, only to run like a pussy and hide behind the block button at the first sign of getting called out. So at the very least, he's not a gigantic hypocrite. Spineless, all the same, but not a hypocrite. Anyway, just who is this guy? I didn't start this conversation, so I wondered just who the hell is Mr. Robert Liefeld? And why did he happen to be so rude? Well, shit, it turns out that he's a best-selling author and the creator of Deadpool and X-Force. Oh, that's fantastic. This honestly made my day. So now, both the author of Deadpool and the director of Deadpool hate my guts. See this video for more information on that. Now all I gotta do is piss off Ryan Reynolds while I'm at it, and it'll be the holy trinity of hate from the Deadpool family. We're just collecting that hate, guys, collecting it as we go. Anyway, allow me to bring this full circle. What's my point? Well, my point is this. While there's a bunch of jaded, spineless individuals who got angry and left without hearing what I had to say, there was an enormous bunch of you who disagreed with me, but actually did hear what I had to say and still want to hear what I have to say, whether you disagree with it or not. And I want to just say a quick thank you because I respect the hell out of you guys. And take pride knowing that you have bigger balls than the creator of Deadpool, who ironically turned out to be a complete and total bitch. Anyway, before I move on to deconstructing episode 2, I want to address what I said about the Tuscan Raiders in episode 1. Firstly, people understandably got confused by what I meant when I said the Tuscan Raiders talk now. You see, they talk now is a meme that played off the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now?
So yeah, that's what that was. The nuanced version of what I meant by that is, yes, the Tuscan Raiders have always talked, but they have only ever talked to each other. They don't communicate with outsiders. They are hostile on sight, which is why after thousands of years, and despite Tatooine being a Hutt-controlled planet, they are still a problem. Because you can't negotiate with them, because they don't want to communicate. Again, it's not that Mando can't learn the language, but he shouldn't be able to, because the Tuscan Raiders wouldn't associate with him at all. And if Mando can learn the language, why haven't the inhabitants of Tatooine learned the Tuscan Raiders' language and made peace with them in the past however many centuries? But they didn't. Because they can't. Because the Tuscan Raiders are savages. Mindless, hostile savages.
Those Tuscans walk like men, but they're vicious, mindless monsters.
Let me give you a real-life example here. Anyone ever heard of New Sentinel Island? It's not a very populated place, but I guarantee you there are 0 cases of the pandemic virus there. And there are also 0 Twitch streamers, 0 McDonald's, there is no running water or electricity. It is an island completely occupied by hostile natives that have lived exactly as they did 1,000 years ago and have remained voluntarily separated from civilization in the 21st century. You know what will happen if you try to approach that island and say hello? Well, the tribesmen who inhabit New Sentinel Island will walk out onto that beach and will spear you on sight. If you try to leave them gifts of goodwill to communicate, they will toss those gifts back into the sea because they want no association with outsiders and have continued this way of life for centuries. That is the Tuscan Raiders. The difference is that the Tuscan Raiders aren't separated by an island. They are nomads wandering the desert planet of Tatooine and are hostile to anyone who crosses their path. I've also had people telling me to read the Kenobi book because apparently that shows precedent for Tuscan Raiders talking to outside parties. Well, without reading that book, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the author was an absolute moron to throw that in there because it breaks so many things. And on top of that, the books didn't justify Palpatine coming back to life, and the books sure as hell don't justify the Tuscan Raiders speaking. Now, allow me to place the final nail in the coffin of that topic. Star Wars is a fictional universe with these things called protocol droids, translators that act as the bridge from species to species. C-3PO knows however many billion forms of communication, and he's just one protocol droid. And you're still telling me that the Tatooine locals and Jabba the Hutt couldn't have communicated and negotiated alliances with the Tuscan Raiders at any time in the past however many centuries? You want to know the reason why they didn't or couldn't do this? Is because outsiders don't know the Tuscan Raider language. The Tuscans don't associate with outsiders. They are mindless savages who don't negotiate or teach outsiders their language. Have we finally squashed this? Wonderful. So now finally, let's start talking about episode 2. I apologize for the delay, but fret not, this won't take long because any and all praise I gave the first episode, despite the fact that on the whole I thought it was terrible, all of that episode's good qualities were essentially thrown out the window and shat on by episode 2. First of all, this episode was almost 20 minutes shorter than the original opening episode, meaning it's falling back into the terrible pattern of Season 1's 30-minute runtimes, meaning any story they're going to tell isn't going to have much time to be flushed out properly, which is most likely going to lead to a lot of rush jobs. But in the case of Season 2, Episode 2, I'm actually quite thankful it was short because this episode had zero pissing story whatsoever. For all the faults of Episode 1, at least I was intrigued by what the hell was going on. We got some good world building, an excellent new character, and some cool action, and while it could have been a lot better, it felt like it was setting up the stage for a good story that was to come. But then we had the Boba Fett reveal, which was meant to get us super hyped for the next episode. And after we waited a whole week to find out what was going to happen, we got a capital middle finger straight from Disney saying, "Oh, that was just to feed your imagination. Get those theory videos up on YouTube and make sure that you actually showed up next week to watch episode 2. But surprise, surprise, all of that was inconsequential and nothing but a massive fan service jerk off, because episode 2 is virtually completely divorced from episode 1, and fuck all happens. Now, I'm probably going to get some Mando apologists in the comment section, because Lord knows we ain't shy of them. And they'll be saying, "But NOMZ, Boba Fett's reveal is going to lead to something. Boba Fett's going to come back later, you'll see." Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Then why the hell did they blow their load early and reveal him where there was absolutely no reason to, other than teasing the audience? Because, oh my god, Boba Fett's back, and he can show up anytime now. You gotta tune in each week to make sure you don't miss a glimpse of Boba Fett. And Boba Fett aside, that doesn't change the fact that with or without him, nothing happened in this episode other than taking the protagonist from point A to point B. Hell, he didn't even arrive at point B. Now, I'm probably going to get even more apologists saying, "But NOMZ, it was meant to be a filler episode." Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Want to know what else was a filler episode? Almost the entirety of season fucking 1. I'm sick of these Mando filler episodes saying, "Oh no, come back next week, something will happen." It's like the people behind this series are trying to milk it to death at a snail's pace to try and push as much subscriptions and merch as humanly possible to break even on Star Wars if they haven't already. Because The Mandalorian at this point is just about the only Star Wars product that's still making them any money. That, or they just suck at writing stories. Because it's been over a year and all of this hype for what's to come, and we still haven't gotten a pissing story yet. And it doesn't seem like they're interested in telling one either. Just give us a new episode every week, leak a few new clues, and let the fans run wild with it, and do most of their job for them. While in every other shot of the episode, they'll have Baby Yoda doing something cute to push more consumable product. Right, so aside from the piss-poor runtime and no story, what else did I think of the episode? Well, let's start from the beginning, and let me list my praises first. I liked the opening scene where Mando gets ambushed. I thought it was a pretty cool sequence with a tiny splash of humor that I appreciated, aside from the fact that Baby Yoda should have gotten splattered to death after crashing at that speed. At least Mando had his jetpack to stick the landing. And yeah, I enjoyed the action. Here's something else I want to give mad props to, despite the writing being mostly terrible and just flat out empty. The directing in this episode was top tier. I actually had genuine tension through certain parts of the episode, particularly with the ice spider chase at the end of the episode. I mean, that was before some cheap Deus Ex Machina bullshit made all of that tension feel completely worthless at the finish, and I'll get to that in a bit. But I actually also felt genuine compassion and sympathy for Mando's predicament, and that fish mother alien passenger he was trying to escort to her husband. Even though that plotline is contrived as fuck. And you know what? We're about to get into it. So Mando gets back to Tatooine and finds that mechanic lady in the Mos Eisley cantina playing cards with a giant ant. Yeah, not even joking. Though to be fair, that giant ant feels more like a Star Wars alien than that blue guy in the pilot episode. Anyway, Mando tells her his search was pointless. yeah, that's what I've also been saying. It's nice to know that the show is self-aware. And then this ridiculous plot thread comes about. So Mando walks into the cantina, while his lady friend is playing with some random giant ant who knows exactly where to find someone who knows someone who might know where other Mandalorians are. We find out this individual is actually an alien mother who's trying to deliver her unfertilized offspring to her husband on a faraway moon. What outstanding astronomical luck. This isn't some prophecy at work here, it's just sheer balls out convenience. And this all happens in about 2 minutes. Remember when I said they shouldn't trim down the runtime? Well, this is precisely why, because fantastic! We don't have time to flesh any of this out. This is just happening now. Wonderful. And the cherry on the cake of this shit mess is that Mando agrees to do this, but he's told he can't use the ship's hyperdrive for lightspeed travel. Because if he does, then the alien mother's eggs will die for some reason. Somehow they will die despite being in an incubation container at a completely disconnected temperature and atmosphere to the interior of Mando's ship and to the vacuum of space. And not to mention, these eggs survive a crash landing later, but apparently jumping to light speed will kill them. In classic Disney fashion, it's not explained why, and the reason why is done because without hyperdrive, Mando doesn't crash on that ice planet and we don't have our pointless filler episode. because the Lucasfilm writers couldn't come up with enough story to stretch the entire season. So yeah, now that we've established that the whole not going into hyperspace is the cornerstone for this episode's plot and makes absolutely no sense, what else happens in this episode? Well, not much. But once again, Mando continuously doesn't watch Baby Yoda, which allows for Baby Yoda to get into all sorts of trouble, including eating the unfertilized eggs from the fish alien's incubation container, which is all kinds of screwed up. Look, I get it's meant to be cute, because Baby Yoda's an infant and isn't fully aware of the consequences of his actions, and I'll admit, I got a chuckle the first time it happened, but by the end of the episode, it was so played out that I just didn't care. I couldn't care. Seriously, Baby Yoda so far throughout this entire show has almost only ever had these please buy me now moments where he does something cute and then it cuts back to whatever's going on. One of the few praises I had for the last episode is that Mandalorian was actually keeping an eye on Baby Yoda. Well, this episode completely disregards that and allows Baby Yoda to once again drive the plot because Mando leaves him unsupervised, and at the end of the episode they even decide to have Baby Yoda straight up rip off Alien when the frost spider nest is woken up. I will say I do like that the Republic has this planetary border control when two X-Wings inquire about Mando's ID when he's in orbit. I like the idea of every ship having to run a transponder signal once entering new jurisdictions of space to flush out any Imperials or Empire loyalists. Yeah, I really actually like that detail. Though it was kind of laughable that Mando was just like, I'm pre-Empire, I don't need one. Get fucked. Anyway, towards the end of the conversation, Mando strangely tells the pilots, "May the Force be with you." I cannot be the only one who cringed internally in that moment. Why on earth would Mandalorian of all people be using that phrase? After all, he doesn't even like the Jedi, but maybe it was to act New Republic friendly, perhaps? I really don't know. Another thing I liked, again, was how this sequence was directed. It was dead silent in space as the tension rises. When Mando is trying to lie his way out of the situation, I love how the pilots suddenly break contact and realize that Mando is lying. So they skip to another channel where they can decide amongst themselves what to do. And then it just has him sitting there, waiting what's going to happen. And after a few seconds of dead silence, you see the X-Wings shift from flight mode to combat mode when Mando realizes his cover is blown, and then it just turns into an admittedly awesome balls-out X-Wing chase sequence that results in a crash landing. And make no mistake, I really do like the X-Wing chase. But again, all of this could have been avoided if Mando just used his damn hyperdrive. And again, the fish alien eggs survived this crash landing, but for some reason turning on the hyperdrive would have killed them. Yeah, this makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, let's just skip to the spider chase because all that happens up until that point was some Baby Yoda memes and a small conversation with Mando and the fish alien. There's nothing really wrong with any of it, except once again, Mando doesn't keep his eyes on people he's meant to be protecting. The fish alien wanders off to use some hot springs to warm her eggs. She does all of this without telling Mando, and of course Mando gives chase with Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda wakes the hive, as I previously said, completely rips off Alien, and then while they're at it, the Mandalorian decides to rip off Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, as Aragog's Ice Queen sister pops up out of nowhere. Now again, I like this chase. It actually felt like the protagonists were in some real danger, and that they were just scraping by with the skin of their teeth to stay alive, thanks to Mando's quick thinking and precision blaster skills and reflexes. I think this sequence did a huge service to Mando, showing off his blaster skills and precision. Unfortunately, they managed to screw it up by the end, because Mando supposedly kills the Ice Queen spider with some explosives. All three protagonists manage to retreat to the pilot's cockpit of Mando's ship, and are going to chance a flight to get the hell out of there, despite the ship still being in really bad condition. Which I was fine with, by the way. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And then out of nowhere, the Ice Spider Queen falls from the sky and crushes Mando's ship, preventing it from taking off. Okay, so now they're dead, right? They're definitely dead? There's no escaping. There is absolutely no way. Only because Dave Filoni and the other X-Wing pilot, who don't even like Mando, magically show up and risk their lives to save him, and both manage to kill the Spider Queen. Thus, the protagonists are saved. Now, the timing of these two pilots, their motivations for doing this, and the chances of them finding Mando in this ice maze of a planet are absolutely fucked all the way up. And because of that, there was no way I could take the scene seriously anymore, and it's why I said the tension was very, very cheap. For some reason, the geniuses at Lucasfilm decided it would be a good idea to bring the pilots back into the equation, and for some reason, they could be the ones who saved Mando's life. Why didn't they just keep the Ice Spider Queen dead, and that way Mando could have a chance to fly it and just escaped on his own? That would have been a much better ending, and the tension could have been from Mando trying to keep the ship steady as he flew to safety. Instead, you bring the Spider Queen back to life, and then you drag these two idiots, who have no business being there, you drag them into the fight, and they save Mando, and then they fuck off anyway because they were going to arrest Mando, but then they don't want to arrest Mando. So what was the point? Why would you do that? Look, aside from the bizarre choice to do this, this is essentially a Rose Tico situation all over again. The only reason Rian Johnson was able to provide the audience tension during Finn's sacrifice was by making it so Finn would have absolutely had no other alternative. There was no way out and no other option. There was no way anyone was going to save him because they're all too far away. We bought into it because we were absolutely certain that Finn was going to die, and the film played it as such. Only for it to suddenly cut to Rose defying time, space, and physics to save him at the last moment, rendering the whole thing pointless. Mando and Baby Yoda were absolutely going to die, were it not for the astronomical luck of these two Good Samaritan X-Wing fighters who had no reason to be there and no reason to save his life. The pilots then tell Mando that they have an arrest warrant on him because he helped jailbreak that Twi'lek prisoner from Season 1, Episode 6, and then the pilots also say that the security footage that was revealed showed that he was a nice guy to Matt Lander's character before he too was killed in Mando's prison infiltration, as if one good deed cancels out the other. And then he asks Mando if all that is true. This is such a mess. First of all, let's for argument's sake forget about the timing of these two idiots showing up. What do these pilots care if he's killed by the giant spider? Especially if he's a wanted man. 2. How the hell do these two pilots know all this? They said that they ran the tabs on the Razor Crest, which is Mando's ship. Okay, so they had to return to headquarters or contact headquarters. Republic officials would have ran the tabs, and they were able to discern all this information from a mix of security footage and the ship's model number. Then they relayed it back to the pilots, who again cared enough to go back into the frosty wilderness to look for Mando, only to save his life and then pardon him, but still leave him stranded. Again, what was the point of all of this other than a cheap Deus Ex Machina to save Mando's life? If they were going to arrest Mando, that would have been some kind of payoff from Season 1, Episode 6, but instead they tell him he's under arrest, and then they're like, nah, you're cool, and then they leave him alone. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. And now you know why I've titled my video the way that I have. Anyway, Mando fixes his ship, sort of, and then he flies into space with it holding together by a thread, with only his cockpit keeping him and his travel companions safe from the vacuum of space, since the rest of the ship has been completely compromised, and then the episode ends. But we all know what's going to happen next episode, don't we? Thanks to the trailers. Spoiler alert! Mando makes it to the planet with his ship in a heap, as you can see here. The fish alien finds her husband at the ship docks, as you can see here, and Mando takes a boat to an unknown location, all the while being stalked by WWE's Sasha Banks, who's apparently going to be playing Sabine from Star Wars Rebels, if I've heard correctly. Let's hope they don't do any worse than this episode, shall we? But yeah, guys, that's my review for Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have time, consider staying for the outro. Firstly, I want to give a shout out to all of my patrons and YouTube members for all of your contributions to the channel. I greatly appreciate the generosity and your support. If you'd like to become a patron of the channel or a channel member, the link to Patreon is in the description, or you could just press the join button and become a channel member that way. Secondly, if you haven't already, please check out the channel's Discord server. What Discord basically is an online community where followers of the channel go to congregate and talk about a range of different topics, ranging from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, The Mandalorian, and so on. Check it out at your leisure, and who knows, maybe you'll make some friends along the way. I've also linked a video about Discord in the description in case you had any questions. Also, if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can check out the channel's merchandise store, where you can pick up some sick new threads, wear your colors proud, and support me at the same time. More designs are on the way, so I'll keep you posted. Also, if you are looking for some more additional content, you can head over to my secondary channel, NOMZ, that primarily talks about video games, and also my archive channel if you're a fan of the channel's podcast. So if you enjoy what I do on this channel, you should definitely check those out. And finally, here's one last thank you for staying till the end of the video. You are a legend, and I'll see you next time.